Okay, everyone, now we are going to continue the chapter What is Democracy and Why Democracy? In this video, we are going to discuss the rest of the part of the whole chapter. We have discussed some features of democracy and something about democracy in our previous video, and we are going to continue on that note. The third feature of a democracy is one person, one vote. That in every we think about some examples of it, then we might found Saudi Arabia, Estonia, and Fiji. These are three examples that has been shown in our book, and plus these are the instances of denial of equal votes, equal right to vote. Saudi Arabia, if we talk about Saudi Arabia, till 2015, women did not have any kind of right to vote in the elections in Saudi Arabia. And if we talk about Estonia, so people who were belonging to Russian minority and now were the part of Estonia's citizenship, and they were the citizen of Estonia, somehow it was difficult for them to get right to vote. And if we talk about the third example of that we have in our book, it is Fiji. What happened there? So the indigenous Fiji, that means the person whose forefather was living in Fiji, and the Indian Fiji who have migrated from India to Fiji. So basically, so those who were Indian Fiji, their value of vote was less than indigenous Fiji. And this is not the kind of democracy that any country should have. And thus, we cannot consider this as a democratic country. So, democracy is based on fundamental principle of political equality. In any democratic country, you would find that everyone is politically equal. That means everyone has one vote and its value is equal to the another person, as like whether they are illiterate, they are well educated or poor, rich, anything. Everyone is politically equal in an democratic country. Each adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote have must one value. So every adult citizen of a country should have one vote, and its value should be same whether whosoever is going to vote in the election. So our third feature of a democracy is one person, one vote. Now, if we talk about next feature that we have in democracy is rule of law and respect for rights. What is it? So basically what happens into it, that we have an example of Zimbabwe. It got independent in 1980s, and the most famous political party was ZANU-PF, whose ruler was Robert Mugabe, and he was ruling the country after the independence. But what happened? President Mugabe was very popular, and he was using some unfair practices to win elections, and that is not a democratic way to contest in election. Over the years, the government didn't change, but the government ensures that constitution have been changing, and when they are going to change the constitution, then they were making the president less accountable and more powerful, more autocratic type of president. So, what do you think in this case, that President Mugabe is a real president of Zimbabwe, as if it is democratic or non democratic? It will be considered as non democratic president. Okay. Now, what happens? If we talk about rule of law and respect of right, in Zimbabwe, every political party that was the part of opposition was harassed by the government, and their meetings were disrupted. Okay, public protest and demonstration against the government were declared illegal, and that is not the feature of democracy. Any person who is unsatisfied with the government's decision can protest against him, but it was illegal in Zimbabwe. And there was a law made that limited the right to criticize president. Now you cannot criticize president, and that is how the government of Zimbabwe was making president less accountable. Television, whether it is radio, the government gave only ruling party visions. These channels, whether it is radio or whether it is television, just does not broadcast it the opposition's point of view. Now, and who tried to do it was harassed, and sometimes they were also killed. Government ignored court's judgment and pressurized judge. However, in 2017, president was forced to quit his office. Now, what happened? The government was not abiding the rules of judiciary. He was not abiding the orders of judiciary, and that is not a good type of government, and that is not a good democracy. But somehow, the people of Zimbabwe get rid of Robert Mugabe, and he was forced to quit in 2017 as president. Now, what this example shows us, so basically, there are three things. First, popular approval of rulers is necessary in a democracy but not sufficient. If, like, it could be that popular rulers can be autocratic or undemocratic because they might have some thoughts in their mind that I am the most popular leader or person in this country and I will win the elections on my own. So, why do I have to work? Why do I have to work for the citizens? And that is not sufficient. Okay, so what we should do, condition for any ideal democracy is there should be sufficient rule for normal political activity, including political opposition in the period before election. So there should be some normal room for political activities in which opposition political party could also express their views, and states should respect some basic rights of the citizens, as like in Zimbabwe case they just denied to to express themselves. No, citizens were not able to express themselves, and that is not how the democracy works. There should be a fundamental right which protects the citizens right, which protects citizens from the state or any type of law that is not good for them. Okay, now there should be equality before law, whether it is rich, poor, or someone, any community. Everyone should be equal before the law. Independent judiciary act as guardian of the rights, that if state is giving us the fundamental right, then it is responsibility of independent judiciary that he protects it or ensures that no one is going to violate it. Now, features of government. The next feature of government is we are going to conclude all this thing. First one, ruler elected by people take all the major decision. So this is the first feature of democracy, that who is being elected by the people or citizens of the country, he only is allowed to do or take major decisions. that we have seen in Pakistan. Election offers a choice and fair opportunity to the people to change the current rulers. But in China and Mexico's example, we have seen that there was denial of this feature. Okay. Now, third feature, this choice and opportunity is available to the all people on the equal basis, as like Estonia, Fiji, and Saudi Arabia was violating it. So, if you want to vote an election, your voting has equality. Okay, and this should be available for everyone, whether it is man, woman. Okay, now last point, that exercise of this choice leads to a government limited by basic rules and constitution and citizens right. So whatever kind of government you are, you have to protect some basic fundamental rights. You have to be followed by some basic rules, and that is how the features of democracy government are. Now we are going to discuss why we should need democracy. So first we are going to understand that what are the arguments against democracy, why the people of world don't like democracy. So first arguments here, that leaders keep changing in a democracy and that leads to instability. This is true that if there is anything that ruler have done wrong, we would change the ruler. Okay, and at a shorter period of time, the when the leaders keep changing, then it leads to instability. Second, democracy is all about political competition and power play. There is no scope for morality. We all know that our leaders just cross limit when it comes to the elections. They try to mock opposition political party and ruling party, and they just forget what are the morality, what they shouldn't say. You know? Now next, so many people have to be consulted in democracy that leads to delay. If we talk about India, in India, if there is going to be uh, if you follow the procedure of making law, then you would find that first it comes to the Lok Sabha, and then Rajya Sabha, then president. And president, if he is not satisfied, it once again it will come to the houses, and then it will be returned to the president, and process is so on. So so many person have been involved in taking decision process that it creates delays, it leads us to delays. Now next point, that elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people. There are so many leaders who don't know poverty. There are so many leaders who don't know the problems of real India. So how would they solve our decisions? How would they solve our problems? By their decision. And that is why it leads us to bad decision making. Democracy leads to corruption for it's based on electoral competition. We all know what happens in elections. Alcohol has been distributed, whether it is money. If you are not going to agree with him by these things, they will threaten you to vote them, and that is what is leads us to corruption in a democratic country. Now, ordinary people don't know what is good for them. They should not decide anything. There are so many people who are illiterate. There are so many people who don't know anything about politics. So, when they don't know anything, they shouldn't be participating into it. So, that is what the arguments against democracy. And now we are going to find out that why we need democracy. Before this, we will conclude this. Uh, Democracy is a not magical solution for all the problems. We all know that. We just can't say that democracy is a kind of solution that our country needs, or uh, any country needs, and when it will come, all the problem will be gone like a magic. It won't happen, and it has not ended poverty in our country and in other parts of the world. We certainly know that when we were independent, our country was suffering from poverty, and I don't think that problem has been solved yet. One person in a four-person is poor in our country. Okay, so now only ensures that people take their own decisions. This does not guarantee that their decision will be good. The decisions that taken by the people in the elections, that doesn't mean that they whatever decision they are taking, this is good or bad. This might be good, and this might be bad. Okay, now people can make mistakes. Involving the people in these decisions does lead to delay, and people can make mistake. We all know that anyone can make mistakes. We are not the god, and involve if we involve these people, then this decision led to delay. Then the decision making process will be so time taking process. Okay, now democracy leads to frequent changes in leadership. Sometimes this can set back big decision and affect the government's efficiency. So if you are going to change your government in every 5 year or in very short time of period, then you can't expect them that they would take decision that are going to affect their politics, and that is why our government's efficiency is affected. Now we are going to understand accountable sorry arguments of the democracy. So whenever we talk about arguments, first thing is there that a democratic form of government is more accountable than any other form of government. We have a case of China and India. If we look at the China, there was a time period of 1958 to 61 when the worst recorded famine occurred in the China. But what happened there? Nearly 3 crore people died with this famine, and economics think so that due to the type of government that China had, it did not dealt with issue of food scarcity, because it was not responsibility of the government that he will provide the food to the citizens. Okay, now if we talk about the neighbor country of China, that is India, that is us, India's economic condition was not much better than China, better at that particular time. India did not have famine. It has some impact, but it was not that devastating as that China had. And economics think that it is just because of the democracy that exists in India, and it made Indian government to respond to the food scarcity, and they purchase food grain from the other parts of the world. Okay. Now, arguments for the democracy. First thing, democracy is better than any other form of government in responding to the needs of people. Whenever a government responds to the people's need, then it has been ensured that this is a kind of democracy that everyone wants. If you are in need of anything, government should respond to it. And non-democratic government may and can respond to the people's need, but it all depends on the wishes of the people who rule. I'm not saying that the China could not respond to the needs of people. It could respond to the needs of people, but it totally depends who is ruling, and if he want to respond to the needs of people, then only it is going to be happen. A democratic government is better government because it is more accountable form of government. It will responsible for what is happening in the country. Okay. Now, quality decision making, the second argument for democracy, that we make we as a democratic country make quality decisions. Okay. Because we consult so many people, we organize so many discussions onto it, then it becomes a quality decision. And a democratic decision involves many person discussion and meeting. We all know that helps to point off the out possible mistakes in any decision. Like if you are taking any decision, it might happen that you are missing out some points into it. But if you consult with your parents, if you consult with other people, they might possibly find that loophole that is going to affect you. So this is how we ensure that in a democratic country the decisions are quality decisions. It is a time consuming process, but it is helpful in taking important decision. If you are going to take important decision, you must have some time to it. And it reduces the chances of rash and irresponsible decision. You will not find that decisions are irresponsible decision in democracy. Most of the decisions are accurate, most of the decisions are good in a democratic country. Okay. Now, democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflict. This is the most important argument for democracy. We all know that in the country we are living that has so much of diversity. And if we fight with each other, if we have differences with each other or conflicts with each other, so democracy is the government that we need. It will solve differences, it will solve conflicts very peacefully. First point here is any society society people are bound to have differences, opinion and interest, as we had Hindu, Muslim and so many other religions, so many languages we speak, so many culture we had. And so the preference of one group can clash with other groups. So we can clash with other groups, and that is why democracy provides the only peaceful solution to this problem. Only democracy is going to provide you a peaceful solution, and that is you could approach to the independent judiciary, and there you are not a permanent winner and nor a permanent loser. Okay. In an independent judiciary anyone could win. Now if we talk about different groups can live in a with one peacefully in a diverse country like India, democracy keeps our country together. And it is just because of democracy that we different groups, different kind of communities that we are living, it just possible because of democracy. Now the fourth or next argument about democracy is that it enhance the dignity of citizens. How? Democracy is based on the principle of political equality. What is it? See, in our country, if you are poor, if you are rich, if you are literate or illiterate, everyone had a same vote and its value is equal. Now if you come to the poorest and the least educated has the same status as rich and the educated. Everyone is same, and that is how they are ensuring that those people who are not rich, those people who are not that educated, feels like they have some dignity. And people are not subject of ruler, they are the rulers themselves. The people make rulers, not the ruler. Okay, even when they make mistakes, they are responsible for their conduct. Whenever people make mistakes, it is just because of them. Now, different groups can live with one another peacefully in diverse country like India. Democracy keeps our country together. We have discussed in next previous argument. Now, the next argument that we have is broader meaning of democracy. What is it? Now we would understand that what how would we could apply democracy in our daily life. It is just not the government. It is about everything that we are the part of in our daily life, as like the family, the school, the education, or the organization. So basically, there are two types of democracies in the whole world. First one is representative democracy. Second one is direct democracy. What happens in representative democracy? Representative democracy is a form of democracy, is most common democracy because different groups can live with each other peacefully in a diverse country like India. Sorry. So listen here. What happens in representative democracy? Basically, if you are the part of representative democracy, then you will elect your representative, and those representative will take decisions on your behalf. Okay, and that is how the representative government or democracy work. This point is not right. Okay, here. Okay, now the second part. Look, if every person in India tries that they are going to be the part of government or they are going to take decisions, the whole population cannot sit at one place. And even if they could sit at one place, the citizens does not have time, the desire, or the skills to take part in all decision. Every person that lives in India is not politically good. Don't have that much knowledge about politics that our leaders had. And as we are the part of our work, we are earning money, and we just can't go and sit to the parliament for a longer period of time to decide anything now, because if we do this, our family will be in stress. They won't have the resources to their basic needs. Now, next, a democratic decision involves consultation with the consent of all those who are affected by that decision. And this is true because every person has elected their representative, and that representative will represent them. And in any decision, it will be consulted with those who are going to be affected by that decision. Those who are not powerful have the same say in taking decision as those who are powerful. If there is any kind of decision that is going to be made up, if like we are going to elect any political party as a government, every person that is powerful or less powerful is equal. And that is what this democracy mean to us. Okay. Now, thus democracy is also a principle that can be applied to any sphere of life. It can be applied to any sphere of life. If organization is not working good, or it is not asking you that how it could be improved, if your family is asking you before any decision what they are going to take, and it is going to affect you, then certainly you can say that there is democracy in your family or in your organization or in any other part of our life, that if you are friend with someone and he just don't listen to you, okay, then it might not be a democratic friendship. And thus we can say that democracy is something that we can opt in our everyday life. So the last slide of this chapter is reason why we value democracy. It enables us to judge an existing democracy and identify its weaknesses. Now, if we are not going to value democracy, we can judge na previous government in democracy, and on the performance of previous government, we can elect a new government, or if it goes, then we can re-elect them. But it will only because of democracy. Okay. Now, the second part, it helps us to distinguish between minimal democracy and a good democracy. If you understand the features of democracy, the arguments of democracy, then only you are going to be understood that which country is a minimal democracy and which country is a good democracy. Democracy can be applied to many spheres of life. That democracy can take many forms. Okay, it can be in your family, it can be in your friendship, it can be in your organization. In everywhere you could find democracy, and there can be various ways of taking decision in democratic manner. You could take decisions as various ways in a democratic manner. So that is it in this video. We will meet in our next video.